All right, another week, another episode of Loki. Also, spoiler alert. I don't think I gave you that alert last week. Anyhow, spoiler alert. Again, as always, not going to be a play-by-play. I just like getting spoilerish when I talk about TV episodes. An episode where last week I was like, we don't have Lady Loki's backstory. And people were like, dude, her name is Sylvie. Anyhow, the beginning of this episode, we see her as a little kid in Asgard, which is great to see Asgard, pre-blowing up. And the TVA was like, she's playing with toys, get her. And they get her. And she sees people getting vaporized or whatever the TVA does. And this kid's like, nope, peace out. And she goes through the quantum leap door and escapes. Only thing is, dude, I don't want to bitch too much, but I do need a little more than that, Just because this little kid didn't know anything about the TVA. She didn't know how to evade them. That's something you need to learn. So I refuse to believe she was like, all right, gonna go through this door and hang out in apocalypses forever, because I know I need to do that. I don't know why she would know she needs to do that. That's something you need to learn. So by implication, she's just evaded capture many times until she found out she has to hang out in apocalypses. In a world where apparently they've gotten a lot of Lokis before, because there's that world of Lokis at the end. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but we'll get there. All this is to say, I'm sure we'll find out next week. I need more though. That's what these videos are. It's just me talking about things and joking about things. Like, what's there to talk about? I'll tell you the important things. Loki stance, baby. That dude's legs look like a pair of snips. He's just like, BAM!
Loki of Asgard welcomes you to the party zone.
So Sylvie and Loki stance were hanging out in their apocalypse zone where this moon's gonna crash into this planet. They're just accepting their fate. And then there's a timeline shift, a breach, a hardcore variance that's happening, which we learned in Back to the Future. The power of love. Because a baby Loki via multi-dimensional love fest, which I feel like is a really clever way of saying masturbation. Technically, I guess that would just wreck the multiverse. So anyhow, the TVA gets them and then puts Loki in this kind of, it's basically a hell loop. It's the hell loop from Lucifer, though Lucifer wasn't the first thing to ever come up with hell loop. The concept is there's a scenario that's a painful scenario that you just have to relive over and over and over again. Though I'm getting mixed signals from this loop, because the scenario is he's on Asgard, and then Lady Sif walks around the corner and then knees him in the balls, punches him in the face because he cut her hair. I guess that was the prank. We didn't see it, but you find out that's what happened. And she leaves, comes back, same thing, knee in the balls, punch in the face. And the reason I'm getting mixed signals about this is because the concept of a hell loop, usually it's like the person's just, they're crying or whatever, and it's all super painful, but they have to live through the experience. They can't change it, and that's what makes it painful. But Loki with Lady Sif, he gets down on his knees and begs for forgiveness, and he's like, I'm really sorry, I thought it would be funny, it was wrong for me to do. She still insults him and leaves, but he doesn't get kneed in the balls and punched in the face, which means he can take action to avoid the pain. So can he block with his knee, block with his arm, and then, counterattack? Regardless, the lesson is cause enough pain to someone and they'll apologize to stop the pain, which means Loki did every YouTube apology ever. Ever. How sincere is it? Looked pretty sincere from Loki, but the motivation was to get the pain to stop, so question for the philosophers, I suppose. I just found it funny that he could take action in some ways, but not others. It doesn't really explain it. We can make the leap that, yeah, he has to apologize, and that's the only way, and that's the lesson there. But he seemed to be still getting kicked in the balls and punched in the face after that, like the loop kept going. Anyhow, Owen Wilson's character dies. Dumb! I hate that. I hate the fact that it happened. He just gets vaporized. He's thinking about a jet ski, and then bam, because he starts having faith in Loki. And that's actually a really important thing this episode showed. It showed the power of a thought. Words are that powerful because perception's powerful, ideas are powerful, and this episode shows that all Loki had to do was tell Owen Wilson, like, you're the biggest liar because you're lying to yourself, and he goes into his hell loop. And that was enough. Owen Wilson's like, yeah, maybe. Sometimes that's all it takes. It's Sylvie with that one agent. The one agent's like, okay, when you were in my head, you showed me stuff. Show me again. She shows her again. And they're all starting to find out, well, at least two of them, one of which got vaporized. So one of them are starting to find out that they had lives before the TVA. They weren't made by these gods, which at the beginning of this episode, you're like, oh, they're real. Then Sylvie throws a sword at one, slicing its head off, with pretty boss move right there. Gonna be real. But the head just falls down. It's just big electronic robot heads. So they're like, who created the TVA? Fascinating question. Who created the TVA? Possibly nobody. It's possibly all right. Thought experiment time. I like thought experiments. So, all right. Imagine me back in 2009. It's already been that long. Wow. But imagine past me in 2009 got a visit from future me, and future me had a camera, gave that to past me and said, hey, you need to take this camera and start doing YouTube videos. All right, so past me took the camera gifted from future me and did YouTube videos, knowing that one day in the future I would have to take that camera, go back to past me, and give past me that camera. And that is the loop. But at that point, where did the camera come from? The camera seemingly has no beginning because it's stuck in this infinity loop. It effectively is never created. Granted, this is the most durable camera ever that will apparently never wear down from use. For the sake of this thought experiment, that's what it is. But I feel like if you can answer that question, you might be able to answer where the TVA came from. Maybe. I don't know. Then Loki gets vaporized. He's about to profess his heart and soul to Sylvie, and then he gets vaporized with one of those sticks. I was like, all right, that's double dumb. Do I care to watch the next two? Owen Wilson and Loki were what I liked about the show. Now there's no Owen Wilson and Loki. But there's a post-credit scene where Loki wakes up in this world with a bunch of other Lokis, or at least a few other Lokis. Loki's first question should be, wait a minute, are you my son? Did Sylvie and I get down? Did she come to the party zone? Oh no, my first thought was like, okay, Loki's still in it. Does that mean Owen Wilson's still in it? Do people that get vaporized not get vaporized? Do they just go into this other world? Is he hanging out in some Owen Wilson world with Drillbit Taylor and Oscar from Armageddon? A world that'll only be known as, wow. Don't know, but the whole who created the TVA thing is very interesting. It's an interesting thought, interesting concept. This episode's definitely much better than the previous episode. I feel like the previous episode, with the one bit of information that was relevant and vital from that episode, could have been 10 minutes at the beginning of this episode and then led right into this episode, in which this episode would be closer to an hour long, and it would just be one episode. It'd be fine. I do want to know what the MCU's fetish with mid-century technology is. You look at the intro to Loki, it looks like the intro to WandaVision or something. It's like, why the black and white? Why the film grain? Why the mid-century aesthetic? I don't know. You even see some mid-century tech in here. Someone played BioShock and they were like, we want that. We want that in here. Not gonna make it horror though. We don't want to scare the children. We'll just make them feel like they can get snatched out of their rooms and vaporized. All right, so episode 4 of Loki. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you're seeing here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.